We're talking, by the way, with Brittany Martinez, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of Evie magazine. And it's just a really neat space. I have a lot of men watching, but hopefully we're bringing in some young women with this interview. But if you're a man, and you're watching and you have a daughter or a wife or a granddaughter or a niece, it's a great magazine to share, an online magazine, because I think it's just, there's a lot of trash out there right now, especially you just mentioned TikTok. And it's a fun magazine that does actually, I think, kind of walks you more down the middle in terms of the values that one would want.
Annual print issue too. So if you're watching this, subscribe online. You can get a print issue for your daughter, for your wife. But I did want to talk about too with EJ, how she wrote the article. So she was reaching out to writers who had written maybe like twice for us years ago. So all these writers were DMing me on Instagram and they're like, hey, like the Rolling Stone is reaching out to me. I don't know what's going on. I've written for you for years. So I reached out to her and was like, hey, EJ, like, I highly recommend you reach out to employees, former employees, or like writers who have written at least 10 articles for us, not like one or two offs. So she did finally reach out to 2 employees and then 1 writer who had written a lot of pieces for us. They all had glowing things to say. One of the employees said she's been foster momming and how amazing it is that Evie has let her be able to do that. And none of that made the cut. So the only notes.
I didn't think the quotes were that bad, by the way. Again, in the Rolling Stone piece, it's like she was really looking for something, but she didn't quite come up. Maybe, I mean, if the worst you've got is wearing masks, making us meaner, and somebody talking about how you guys were trying to be very libertarian in spirit, but maybe some, times, look, we're in a crazy world. Like any which way you slice it, right? I mean, the whole transgender thing, like, I'm sorry, it's a new and different world right now, and I think most Americans are pretty compassionate.
I wanted to hear all the crazy things happening with Evie magazine. I was really excited to see this mass hit piece, and I was a little disappointed. I was like, oh, it's the best she could come up with.
Yeah, I mean, so she said, and by the way, you yourself have some very nice quotes in the piece, and I thought you really came across as a class act because you were willing to talk with them and you were willing to give them stats and numbers and all of these things, which was important in terms of helping their piece. But it's very clear that there was an agenda here. And I find that, again, troubling in that I think people ought to be able to read what they want to read. And can't we trust people? Can't we trust young women to make their own decisions? Like, do we have to think that just because there's an article on the, how fidelity and marriage may help you achieve financial success one day, which, by the way, every single study, and I say this is, I come from an economics background, financial background, every single study will say one of the best, most assured ways to ensure generational success, by the way, is to have a 2-parent household. Because you know what? It's hard to raise kids, right? It just is. And if you have a 2-parent household, you have a much more likelihood of financial success for the family and for the children. And you guys write about things like that. And somehow that's touching a nerve. And I guess I just look at it and say, like, why? Like, why can't we let everybody do their thing?
Yeah. I think it must be like a Western far left thing because, any other country you go to, this would just be sane. This wouldn't even be an article, but.
You had another piece which they took aim at because you talked about moving in with your partner before marriage. Well, and somehow, and that was not necessarily a good move. Again, I'll just go back to the studies. I think if you look at the divorce rates and the number of people that shack up before they get married, I mean, like, look, I mean, it's there. And so why not write on that? Why not have that discussion? Yeah. Why not have young women have all sides?
Yeah, it would help a lot of women from heartbreak being with loser men that won't commit to them. Like, we honestly want to help women live their best lives. That's the entire point of Evie magazine.
So was this hurtful?
The piece?
Yeah. Or are you just kind of laughing it off? Because it's kind of like, again, I was expecting that it might be a little bit more aggressive. I just don't think that they really could come up with what they wanted to come up with. It sounds like it had very much an opinion.
Yeah.
I tried to do a takedown.
I think she tried. I mean, I've told you, she reached out to, I mean, people I haven't talked to in years, like people all over the place, but everyone except employees and the writers who've written for us a lot, but everyone else in the world was like contacted for this article. And I mean, most of them were just like DMing me and like laughing about it. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to ignore it. Like, ha ha ha. But I'm just, I think she just didn't get
other examples she took issues with. 13 reasons why you should quit hormonal birth control. Now, again, I'm just going to say, like, there's plenty of articles that will tell you why you should be on it. Like, why not have another viewpoint represented?
Yeah. Why not give women the side effects? Like, we're not saying get off the pill, but a lot of because we were talking about it before everyone else talked about it and told about the side effects, all these women came to us and were like, I got off the pill. I had depression. Now I don't. Like, all these great things happened to them. So we're like, okay, if you do get on the pill, before you get on it, you need to know what potential side effects it can have.
And it's playing with your hormones.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, it's a little dust up. I think it thrust you guys more into the public eye. So I'm hopeful that more people find your magazine and say, okay, let's check this out. And so what doesn't kill you can make you stronger.